This month we remember a giant. 36 years have passed since the music world lost Franco Luambo Luanzo Makiadi, the man we call Franco, the sorcerer of the guitar. Welcome to episode 1 of Remembering Franco. My name is Papa Tony Mutu Importante. In this episode, we return to his beginnings. The boy from Sona-Bata, the self-taught guitar genius, the birth of OK Jazz, and a love that started in a fan club and became a lifelong anchor. Franco was born on July 6, 1938 in Sona-Bata, in the Basse Congo of what was then the Belgian Congo. He grew up in modest circumstances, a railway worker for a father, a market vendor for a mother. From childhood, he was drawn to sound, his mother's songs at the market, the street calls, the rhythm of everyday life. Those ordinary melodies planted the seed. When the family moved to Leopoldville, in what is known today as Kinshasa, young Franco found himself a city alive with music, local folk, marching bands, and Cuban records spinning in cafes. He had no money for a proper instrument, but ingenuity took over. He fashioned his first guitar using bicycle brake wires for strings, crude but enough for a boy with an ear and a hunger to play. In an interview, Brazil's Armando, a rhythm guitarist who played alongside Franco at OK Jazz and later TP OK Jazz, both were not taught guitar by anyone but by simply observing what others did. He started on the harmonica, then joined neighborhood groups. By his mid-teens, he was playing with local bands. In 1952 to 1953, he became associated with the circle of musicians around Paul Ebengo Dewayon and Albert Luampasi, two men who would mentor him, show him the studio, and help him find a voice. It was at the Ngoma and later Loningisa studios that the Parker boy turned guitarist caught the attention of producers. After a breakthrough audition with Henry Bowane, the stage name Franco was given to him, a name that would echo across Africa. Franco's sound grew out of conversation between African rhythms and the Latin sounds he loved, but he did not merely copy. He slowed the tempo, let the guitar breathe, and made the seben, or rather the instrumental climax, a place of miracles. Multi-string plugs, polyrhythms, and a thumb and forefinger technique that would become the OK Jazz School. Talking about the OK Jazz School, there existed another school which was that of Dr. Nico Kasanda, a story I will tell in a different episode. In the mid-1950s, he recorded songs that started to turn heads, yet one of the most decisive moments came not in the studio but in the crowd. The music scene in Leopoldville produced passionate youth clubs, male groups like AJOS, or rather the Association des Gentlemen Sélectionnés, and a female counterpart called La Mode. These fan clubs weren't only cheer squads, they were communities of belonging and influence. Franco wrote songs dedicated to them, and they in turn made him a star. It was through La Mode that Franco met Pauline Masuba. She was not just a casual admirer, she was a prominent member of that female fan club, La Mode. In a city where the lines between stage and street blurred, Pauline moved among fans, dancers, and musicians. Franco had a habit of writing songs that spoke to real people. He praised La Mode in recordings like Bana Ages, and his persona, Franco de Mi Amour, became part of the romance. Their relationship began as admiration and friendship inside that world of music and fandom. Pauline knew the band, she knew the nights at the OK Jazz, and she knew Franco in a way that few others did. When crisis struck, when the band's future wavered, it was Pauline who would play a quiet but powerful role. In 1959 to 1960, the band faced turbulence. Vicky Longomba, a leading voice and intellectual figure in OK Jazz, left, and Franco contemplated following him to Europe. It was in that fragile moment that Pauline encouraged Franco to stay. She urged him to hold the band together, to keep the music in Leopoldville, and to believe in what they were building. Her support was more than romantic. It was practical and moral. A fan turned partner, believing that the band had a future at home. Soon after, Pauline and Franco became spouses. She would later be recognized as his first wife. Their union was born from the shared world of fan clubs, dance halls, and long nights of music. For Franco, Pauline's presence was a stabilizing force during the band's early upheavals. She helped steady him when choices loomed large. Meanwhile, OK Jazz formed in 1956 at the Little OK Bar, owned by Oscar Kashama, rose quickly. Jean Sagier-Sous and others helped set the group on its feet, but Franco's pen and guitar made the band's heartbeat. In December 1956, OK Jazz released a song named Un Entre OK, Un Sort K.O., which translates to "You enter OK, you leave knocked out," became their anthem, a swaggering statement that announced OK Jazz to the city. From OK Bar, the band changed its name to an orchestra, OK Jazz. The name came from a local bar, OK Bar, where they used to play. No one could have guessed that this small group would grow into one of the greatest orchestras in African music history. Brazos Armando says that Oscar Kashama, the owner of the OK Bar, one day walked in and found them discussing so hard about the name they would give to their band. Kashama simply said, "My children, you have been playing at OK Bar for a long time, so your band should be OK Jazz." And so it became. Franco sang about love, morality, daily life, and the little hypocrisies of society. The music was dance music, yes, but it carried a voice of the market, the worker, the lover, and the man in the street. As Congo moved toward independence in 1960, Franco's music became part of the soundtrack of change. He was not a politician, but he was a cultural force. The songs of OK Jazz played in radio sets across the country, in Brazzaville and beyond. Franco's fame did not make him forget where he came from. His lyrics continued to honor ordinary people and the rhythms that shaped daily life. It is important to note, while Pauline was a pillar in these years, Franco's personal life would later become complicated. He married twice, and in later decades, whispers of infidelity and controversy would follow him. Those deeper, sharper stories deserve space to breathe and will be part of our next episode, where we dig into leadership battles, public scandals, and the political pressures that shaped his later career. Back in the early 1960s, ambition turned outward. OK Jazz toured, recorded in Brussels, and Franco set up his own label and publishing house, Epanza Makita. A move that showed his growing business sense. He had become more than a guitarist, arranger, band leader, entrepreneur. Pauline remained by his side through this ascent, part muse, part moral compass, reminding him at critical moments of the people who first loved his music. By the close of this chapter, Franco had become an icon, a boy from Sona-Bata who taught himself to play with bicycle wires, who rose into Kinshasa's glitter, who created a sound that was unmistakably Congolese. He built OK Jazz into a machine of rhythm and soul, and he did it with the help of mentors, Dewayon, Luampasi, Bowane, and of people from the crowd, Pauline among them, who crossed the line between audience and life partner. Today in 2025, on the 36th anniversary of his departure, we remember not only the man on stage, but the people beside him, the fan clubs, the bar owners, the musicians, and the woman who stood with him when choices mattered most. Pauline's story is a reminder of how love, loyalty, and community shaped Franco's earliest success. In episode 2, we will pick up the thread. Franco as leader of TPOK Jazz, the expansion into continental fame, and the controversies that would shadow his later years, the politics, the rivalries, and the personal decisions that tested him and the band. Thank you for joining me on Papa Tony TV. If you enjoyed this look at Franco's beginnings, share it with a friend and return for episode 2, where we'll go deeper into the man who both mesmerized and divided a nation. Until then, keep the rumba alive. Papa Tony TV, rumba without borders.